Okamehu, Odimenim, Odiminensi, Obame, Ose Osome Panso, Semidi, Abwale Beka, Ose Free to Memua, on the circle for me, another circle, in my circle, no squares, please. Yabao, Yabao.
Catch the rhythm with WVOG Worldwide Radio, our 24/7 streaming service. With over 11 genres to choose from, there's a beat for every mood. Got your own tune? Share your music with the world right here. Download the app, share the vibe. Your talent, our platform. For more, visit wvogshi.com. WVOG Worldwide Radio, sharing one beat at a time. Download the app today and feel the beat.
All right. Welcome to another show of Real Talk. I'm your girl, Queenie Green, and we have a very, very good show for you tonight. Make sure you tune in every week, Fridays from 6 to 7 p.m. And make sure you keep up with what's going on in Queenie Green's world. So tonight's topic, social media and its influence. And tonight I have a very special guest with us, my buddy. I brought my buddy in to talk about social media and its influence with me, global influencer Rick Rhodes.
Hello.
With me tonight. How you doing, Rick?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I am well. I am very, very well.
Good.
And so, of course, having this conversation, why not have a global influencer have this conversation with us? So tonight, we're going to discuss influence from social media, the influence that it has over the world, the influence that it has over our young people. Those who keep up with the news, we've seen some lawsuits and things going on like that with over TikToks and these different social media sites, entrepreneurship when it comes to social media and the influence. And we'll hear from you and your experiences, ups, downs, whatever it is that you want to give us. And we'll also hear who Rick Rhodes is. So you guys know me. So Rick, go ahead. Let's go. Let's get right on into it. Welcome to WVOG and Live with Queenie Green. Thank you for coming in tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
All right. So Rick Rhodes, who is Rick Rhodes, global influencer?
So Rick Rhodes, global influencer. So in a nutshell, so I do a lot of different companies. My influence is on social media. In the state of Florida, I'm one of 7 people that have what's called international press certification. So whenever I do press, media, journalism, anything like that, I'm touching anywhere from 5 to 7 million people globally. So to be able to do that and do that for my clients and do that for some of the stuff that I do for my own brand, global influence.
All right. And so when you give us numbers like that, I know everybody's like, whoa,
Right.
5 to 7. So give us some history. I always like to hear the story. I mean, I've gone over my story and how I've gotten where I am now, how I went into it, the things that brought me here. And so give us some history on Rick Rhodes. Like, when did this start for you? When was this something you wanted to do? Did you pick this to do? I know for me, it almost feels like the universe chose me for this. Right. And so let's hear your story.
So for me, I started off in fashion, doing a lot of different fashion events around the country and stuff like that. Me getting into marketing, into press, media, multimedia, it came from a place of me getting taken advantage of by my handlers when, I guess you would say my handlers, but the people that were working for me when I was in the fashion. And so my thing is, like, I got rid of all of them, kind of clean house. And I said, well, I want to learn and teach myself every aspect of what I was paying people to do. And so that morphed into where I am now, um, I do plan to circle back around to fashion. It's just, I have the itch every once in a while. When New York Fashion Week, LA Fashion Week, all these places, all these things, Miami Fashion Week, all these things start to happen. Yeah, I get the itch, but when God's ready, that's when I'll step back into it. And so for me right now, just building the marketing agency, building my platforms. Another aspect of how I got into this was just out of pure artistry. I'm able to still create. So just imagine just thinking of something and literally just being able to just um, put it into action and putting it into action myself. And so, yeah, that's the gist of it. Um, and so, yeah, we just keep moving forward in the things that we're doing, and um, social media wise, digital media wise, press wise, event wise, and you know, as we met at the International Reggae World Music Awards, um, being in this field and being in places like that, it turns into relationships like this where um, we can both build together. So yeah.
Definitely, definitely. Now, I'm glad that you spoke on something that it's my story,
Hmm.
and if I can say just about every single entrepreneur,
Hmm.
whether entrepreneurs still
Right.
building,
Right.
entrepreneurial millionaires,
Right.
shout out to all those that I've been able to work with and
Right.
learn from.
For sure.
But it amazes me that no matter where, now mind you, Rick is in Florida, and yes,
Yes.
again, we met over last weekend
Right.
at the Arama
Yeah.
Awards. Great opportunity to be a part
Absolutely.
of that. I had a ball.
Yeah. Same.
Rick was over there taking pictures.
Yes.
I think one of those main pictures that I put up is one of the pictures that Rick
Yes.
took.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you taking pictures? And but that's something that I hear so many people's stories start off with, is that I got screwed over, whether it was I got screwed over at my job and I said the
Right.
hell with the job and I
Right.
branched out and became an
For sure.
entrepreneur, or the millionaire conversations that I've had with people. I
Hmm.
mean, multi-millionaires that are like, I was living in my mom's basement and I
For
was
sure.
just tired of,
Yeah.
I was doing this. I started something and then everybody
Hmm.
screwed me over, or they stole my money, or they
Right.
stole my idea, or stole my
Right.
product, or just totally mishandled us, as you said.
Right. For sure.
I hear a lot of people,
Hmm.
their stories, these True Hollywood stories that I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll have.
I know, right?
They start off this way,
They
right?
start off this way for sure.
And so, of course, with Real Talk,
Hmm.
this is my season to almost give my tell all
Right.
before another venture will be coming out of my
Right. For
tell
sure.
all,
Right.
right? Of my life, of what's going on. And so I've been away from the air as far as talk show and radio
Hmm.
personality for some
Hmm.
years, just building
Right.
everything that I've been working on from here to Africa.
Right.
And I decided to go ahead. Everybody's been pushing me and saying, when are you coming back? And I decided to go ahead and come back with this show called Real Talk.
Right.
So Real Talk, it's not necessarily always a PC, politically
Right.
correct show. We get it in. And I
Yeah.
say what it is. Fortunately, I own the platform. And so
Yeah.
we're not going to be silenced unless I want to silence us, And so it feels good to be able to
Yeah. For
speak
sure.
freely. Um, I dealt with the same thing where, being silenced, things like that, different things that I just wanted to speak on is just
Hmm.
not what the world would view or what
Right.
other people will want to put on. And so that's
Right.
what pushed me into entrepreneurship.
Right.
Um, and for me, I grew up very creative,
Right.
and in the latter years, I lost all my portfolios, and I said, what the heck, what the hell? And I just went digital with everything. So we're going to revisit that fashion conversation because, we discussed the line
Yes,
that
we
I
did.
just dropped out in
Yes.
Ghana. And body frame and all that you got going on, you definitely could be one of the models.
I know, absolutely.
We're gonna get into that later because
All right.
I always make sure I always give something for the men and the ladies when
Sure.
I have a exclusive guest on the show. So we're gonna get into some of your sexy a little bit later on. You're gonna tell the ladies out here what's going on with you and your sexy.
All right.
But as far as the social media and its influence, let's talk about influence when it comes to the world and the impact that we actually have that we don't always necessarily know that we have when other people are following us. What have you experienced with that, and what is your take on that?
My experience with it, it's so for me, being that I'm the person that's up 2 o'clock in the morning whenever they're having the new updates, and I'm reading through all this stuff. So for me, it's more of a it's more of a technical thing, but it's also more of kind of walking a fine line with my content and how I do it, because I know, it being interpreted, it has to be interpreted the correct way. So one of my biggest things, like when I tell people when they do content, when I'm working with my clients, I say, you have to have a clear, concise, and impactful, piece of content. And so that's how, for myself, that's how I create. That's how I, work with my clients. That's how I do things myself. Even in my photography, right? It always has to have, impact. And so I think that's one of the biggest things that people have to learn how to do. Yeah, you can put up content and you can post, do stories, reels, all these things. But to really get true engagement, to really reach and go viral, you have to have things that are impactful, whether impactful, funny wise, emotional wise, sales wise, however. You always have to create with that thought process of making an impact. And so for me, that's how I create. That's how I've kind of done all of my content and all of my content for my clients. And for me, it's been a success. So in that aspect, that's what I kind of give to people: clear, concise, and impactful.
So how long have you been doing this craft, and how long have you been a global influencer?
So I've been doing this for the last 3.5 years. But so in my aspect, coming out of fashion, I'm I guess a bit of a nerd when it comes to this stuff. If that's the terminology to use. Like I said, I'm the person that's up 2 o'clock in the morning when they have new updates, and I'm reading through them, I'm figuring them out, I'm understanding how the algorithm works, I'm understanding every aspect of making viral and making global content. So for me, being in it for the last 3 years and coming out of, as I said, the situations when it came to the fashion and stuff, it was necessary for me in order to create growth, but it was necessary for me because when I do step back into fashion, I want to be able to operate like the big fashion houses, right? And so in order to do that, I had to study, not only like their campaigns, their social media, their analytics, their algorithm, but I had to study, the social media platforms and making that content what it's supposed to be, which again, I go back to my point, making clear, concise, and impactful content, right? So me being in the last 3 years, what I did was I hired a bunch of developers, software developers, and then we came up with a program that actually in itself pushes content viral. And so developing that, going through, almost $70,000 in 2 years of, work, we finally got it done. And, we're utilizing that so that it benefits not only, our brand, but also our clients. Be able to, go into a business and reshape them literally in a week's time, social media wise. That's something that a lot of people don't have. And so be able to literally just diagnose some things and reshape the whole element of their business in a matter of weeks, and then organically grow their accounts. People don't have that. They have people that do social media, they want to post, do reels, but do you know exactly how to do it? Right? Like, you can do it, but do you know how to do it? And so that's a separation in my business and my partners and in what we do. We know how to do it. So that's the gist.
So absolutely, school us, baby, school us, because I'm sure I know a lot of people myself, especially people that are the age that we are. You just embarrassed the hell out of me, because I've been doing what I've been doing, building all of my different brands and things like that. I'm coming up on like my 9-year anniversary.
Right.
And here this man says, "Oh, I've been doing this for about 3 years." and and then when I look at your Instagram, I see, over 100,000 followers, and I got like 5.
Yeah.
I have like 5 followers, and I've been doing this forever. And I hear you say, you've been doing this for a couple years, and then you talk about the content and you can do this and you can do that. And do you know how to? You just let me know. I don't know how to, right?
Well, the thing is that you know how to, right? But you also have to understand how to, right? Like, everybody can put together content. They can do their posts, their reels, their hashtags. But let's, as we spoke earlier, when I was asking in regards to, hey, what's the content, what's the artist and stuff that you work with, right? And so and let me just diagnose you if you don't mind.
Come on, baby.
All
It's
right,
your
let's do it.
hour. Come on.
So just in the many facets that you work in, right? You work with the artists and stuff that are in Ghana, Africa, different places like that. So their music is in all these different platforms, right? And so, me personally, on my end, what I would do, I would be, every time I'm having, every time I'm having a show, as you do, every time I have an event, every time I'm doing and posting and stuff, right? So what I would be doing, I would be adding the artists that I work with. I'll add their music to everything, right? Because that transitions into streams. That transitions into potentially somebody else hearing that, and that that music being used in a viral campaign, which also turns into streams. So I always tell people, like, if you have copyrighted, if you have published music and stuff like that, utilize that music within the things that you do, in everything that you do, because you're just adding money into your pocket. And then just the consistency of posting, knowing your algorithm, knowing your analytics, knowing when it's the right time to post. Also knowing, and I'll give you this caveat, knowing the process in choosing music that you put behind your posts, your reels, your stories, and stuff like that. So you want to stay somewhere between 5 to 7,000, and don't go above anything that's like 50, 60, 70,000, right? So you got to think, like, these platforms, let's take Instagram, 150 million people on a 12-hour rotation, right? So you're looking at almost 200 and some million people in a 24-hour basis, right? And so 5 to 7,000, and then upwards of 50, 60, 70,000 people. That's a small niche in 120, 150 million people. So in using, that sound, that song, and then it catches on as far as within the algorithm, if you're within that time frame if you're within that viewership of or use of the song, now you have the potential of not only the song pushing you to a viral standpoint, but also your content as well. And so that's where it comes with your content being clear, concise, and impactful with what you're trying to do. And also as a business, staying on brand, right? Using the same hashtags, using the same color schemes, all of that stuff. All those things are very important. And so that's just a tidbit.
So I just want to pause for a second and let the people that will be viewing this and the people that will be tuning into this, let everyone know that you guys are getting a hell of an amount of information for the complete zero that this man charges his clients. I'm definitely getting some of the good knowledge.
For sure.
I told you I decided to bring in some interns because I still come from that sell 100,000 copies out of the Trump era,
Yeah.
You know how we did back in the day.
Yeah. But grassroots, like, that's your guerrilla marketing. Like, it still exists. It's still a major factor. But digital, like, you got to think about it. This phone is literally your TV, your news, your
it is our
everything, right?
Yes.
And so if you put this thing in your hand every day, just imagine what everybody else is doing. Just imagine the impact that you have when people can't put this down, right? And so you have to have a major impact, and you have to think this is it. This is where you have to have your impact. And so I give people for instance, right? So DJ Khaled, whenever he did his God Did album, right? So DJ Khaled had probably, I would say, an estimate of about 350 different pieces of content. No matter your algorithm, right? Literally, you're seeing DJ Khaled's content. And so I always tell people, like, whenever you're doing rollout, if it's music, if it's fashion, whatever, if you can create yourself 200 to 300 pieces of content, schedule those things, and literally push those things out week after week, not only do you put yourself literally in the face of, people that you don't normally have what's called like within your recommender API, but now you push yourself out to a global standpoint because of that content being consistently pushed out. Now you broaden yourself like crazy, right? And so, those are just some aspects that we use and we employ in some of the things that we do. But always, grassroots always wins because you can touch the people. That's how you literally, you build a fan base, you build a core. Out the trunk always wins, though.
Okay, so I'm not too far gone. I'm not too far gone. Still, paying the street team to put flyers on.
Absolutely.
So if you, I apologize, not really though, but if you are, on 87th in the parking lot, if you pulled up in the parking lot of any one of the strip malls on 87th Street, Chicago, yes, I had a flyer on your window.
For sure.
Because I still pay the street team to go out there and put flyers on the windows, things like that. And so that's another thing that I wanted to talk to you before we go to a commercial break. I wanted to talk to you, and which you just basically said it just like it is as far as the grassroots and things like that. For those that are out there and they're still trying to brand their businesses and things like that and build, what's your take on the street team? Still getting out there and posting up and giving out flyers. And there's been some, I've even seen down my Facebook like timeline, And I've had people to even ask me or even send text messages and say, hey, Queenie, you know, you got a bunch of stuff going on all over the place. You know, everybody's like, oh, you all over the world, Queenie. Do people still give business cards? I'm like, ooh, ooh.
Yeah.
And so initially, remember, and I am going to talk about this because it's still so funny to me because I still would have given you 28. Even though I was in the store, I was in the store recently, and the cashier, she was like, baby, baby, baby. I was buying some wine, and she was like, baby this and baby that. And then when I gave her my ID, she was like, oh, shit, you in your 40s. I was like, yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
And, you know, she's like, I would have said 19. And so initially I thought you were much, much younger than me. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I want to have this conversation with a young person, you know, right? And this is one of the reasons why I went to the college and I've got interns and everything working, you know, because at a certain age, also, I'll go ahead and drop this for those senior citizens out there. We do have a senior citizen computer literacy class. You can inbox me, Queenie Green, hashtag Queenie Green. Find me. You can inbox me and find out about our senior citizens computer literacy class that we have going on. But for people that are, I probably would say right now about over 25. Maybe even over, maybe a little over that, maybe about 28 and up, we are very intimidated by social media, by technology, and we think that it is solely a young person's world. Solely a young person's world. So business cards, is it still worth having business cards and flyers? I know digital cards are coming out, but for a global influencer, business cards, yes or no?
For me, no.
Okay.
But I'm gonna tell you why. So in my experience, I've done both. I've done business cards. I've done, you know, the QR code. I've done all that stuff. But for me, I feel like when I'm at an event or I'm networking or something like that, for me to exchange phone numbers with you, like on the spot, it creates more of a personal situation. I feel like if you give business cards, hey, get home, pull everything out your pocket, you may not pick that thing up again, right?
Yep.
But for some people, depending on what they're doing, it's good for them. It just kind of depends on your age bracket, who you're dealing with. But for me, I don't use them. I always tell people because they ask me, "Hey, you got a business card?" I'm like, "No, I do this." I figure if you know if we're gonna have a for real situation or we're gonna talk business, let's exchange like you know our information. I don't want to look on your business card then call you and nothing like that. I want to pull up your number, be able to, hey, such and such, let's let's meet for lunch or let's set a meeting. I feel like for me that's more of a a personal touch to it that lets me know that you're serious.
What about digital business cards?
I mean, same thing.
Same thing?
Same thing. Yeah, same thing. Give me your number. I'll give you mine.
Yeah.
Let's get to it.
Definitely,
right?
definitely.
So
Definitely. Okay. All right. So world, you got it there from. So for all those people that are
But that's for
always
me
asking
though.
me,
But that's for me though. Not every
Queenie, do we do
that's for me
business
though. But not
cards?
everybody, not everybody can operate in that fashion. Not everybody is, a meet and greet person, talkative or anything like that. Like as we met at the event, like we just we can gift the gab, we can talk. But not everybody is like that. So for some people, having the digital business card, having the actual business card is good for them. So that's just for me.
So I've pretty much had the same conversation when people are asking me because, as you said, I'm that person.
Yeah.
Just like how
Yeah.
we interacted and how
Right,
we met.
right,
It was
for sure.
like pull out the phone,
Right, for sure.
let's go straight in.
That's-
Versus just because I've also experienced the same thing of
Right.
having business cards. Like now, from that weekend, I have a ton of business cards, and they're still in my bag.
Yeah.
They're still in
My
my little
point
carry-on
exactly.
bag that I had on the
My point
plane.
exactly. My point exactly. And so,
And putting the money somewhere, being able to also put that money somewhere more
absolutely.
useful.
More useful. Absolutely.
So your take, I would think it may be better to take the money that you would spend on a business card and boost your posts.
Yeah. I mean, um, again, in boosting your posts, you gotta know what you're doing first.
You know what you're boosting.
Right.
Okay.
That's a whole nother conversation, right? But if anybody that wants to have the conversation, wants to sit down, wants the consultation, Queenie has my information, then we can go from there. But
we definitely going to get into that. We are definitely going to get into how do we find you. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to discuss more on Rick Rose, global influencer. I want to talk about that billboard.
all right.
Catch the rhythm with WVOG Worldwide Radio, our 24/7 streaming service. With over 11 genres to choose from, there's a beat for every mood. Got your own tune? Share your music with the world right here. Download the app, share the vibe. Your talent, our platform. For more, visit wvogshi.com. WVOG Worldwide Radio, sharing one beat at a time. Download the app today and feel the beat.
All right. And we're back again for those who may come in a little bit late. We are back with global influencer Rick Rhodes. And again, this is Real Talk with Queenie Green, happening every Friday, unless we are live from an event. And so, going through your Instagram and things like that, just kind of looking you over when we first met, I did notice, I noticed what it was like, the digital billboard.
Yeah.
Was that Times Square?
So that was in Times Square. So that was an ad that we ran. I've since then become a partner with the billboard company, and from there, literally I have access to about anywhere from 20 to 40,000 billboards across the country, depending on what's going on. And so yeah. So I actually have a plan to put up some billboards here in Southwest Florida here shortly. I'm just doing the media stuff for it. But yeah, being in Times Square, being next to a Vogue ad in Times Square, it was amazing. And it was, it was something. It was a great accomplishment.
And then, excuse me, another thing that I saw was a young lady that was just extremely excited about her first billboard. So what are you doing for others and their billboards?
Wait, say that one more time.
So there was a young lady that was really excited about having her own billboard.
Right.
And did she won a contest, or it was something dealing with her having?
So that was Eliza Marie. One of the models and stuff I was dealing with, she's out of Pennsylvania. So we did a photo shoot in King of Prussia, PA. And so we surprised her with the billboard for her birthday. So as you saw, like she, broke out in tears and stuff. She wasn't expecting it. And so I remember that we were talking one time and she was like, I'll really, excuse me. She's like, I can't wait to be on a billboard in Times Square. And let alone a couple weeks later for her birthday. I organized everything with her mom and her family and stuff. And she saw herself on the billboard and just, burst in tears. So it was amazing.
Of course. And so you're based out of Florida, correct?
Yes. Out of Fort Myers, Florida.
Okay, so you're based out of Fort Myers, Florida, but you are global. You go any and everywhere.
Right, for sure. So my reach is around the country, overseas. So literally wherever I target, that's what I can do. I'm always the person that's looking at analytics, looking at what exactly I'm doing as far as content, and so I know exactly where to target it. Even going back to even going back to, having the street teams and stuff, right? And so all that stuff is analytics in itself. And so knowing which areas to target, which areas are right for the stuff that you're doing, for the event or concert, whatever it may be, knowing the exact areas to target, knowing, the right times to target those areas. All that stuff comes down to analytics, knowing like what type of content that you're able to put out to kind of interact the guerrilla marketing, but also the digital marketing as well. So all that stuff is analytics, and so that's what we do. We break down all that stuff so that we're moving precisely how we need to, so that we get the most bang for whatever that we're doing.
Okay, and so what do you have? So what's in the making now? What's what's in the making, and kind of what's going on? What can we look out for in the future for Rick Rhodes?
So come June, what I'll be doing is I'll be starting my concert promotion business. It's kind of a business all in one. So we'll be able to not only do the concerts, but also pull the content from it. And like I said, with our program, we'll be able to monetize the content. So, doing the merchandising, making the money from the concert, but also monetizing the content. That's our next step.
All right, all right. Well, sounds about lined up. I may need you to come on out to Africa with me.
For sure.
Because so I'm not gonna I won't disclose what we'll be doing out there in Africa, but I will be leaving soon, and I won't be coming back for a little while because we've got a lot of things launching.
Yeah, for sure.
And definitely, I would love to have you come out.
Absolutely.
And
I would love that.
Yes, definitely come out and let's build together.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so on that note, now I told you I always give it to the men and always give it to the ladies. So ladies, I mean, he's some eye candy, y'all. And so this is something that I always have with our exclusive, with our very, very handsome and our sexy young ladies out there. So 3 questions. Are you single? What do you like in women? And what is your take on fatherhood? Ladies, before you answer that, ladies, I dropped some of his photos on Facebook with that Facebook post, so you guys can look at him, check him out, go follow him. So give the ladies something to fantasize about tonight. So what's your take on love and life and fatherhood?
My take on, well, let's do fatherhood first. So my take on fatherhood is just being the best man that you can be, and being a protector, being a comforter and nurturer. All in one is, it's usually left up to the woman to be the nurturer of the family, and then the father is, the provider and the disciplinary. But I feel like in this day and age, like you have to, as man, you have to do all of those things, right? So my take on fatherhood is for me, loving and nurturing my son the best way I can, and even going beyond some of the things that being taught growing up. You have to kind of get past the things that your parents or grandmother or your family didn't give to you or didn't teach you. You have to get past those things because for my son, I want him to be well-rounded. I want him to be well-rounded emotionally, spiritually, mentally, socially, physically, everything. And so for me, it's something that's very, very important. My take on love, love is tricky, right?
Yes.
Love is tricky. Having somebody that compliments you, having somebody that that in itself is a helpmate, right? And that's just emotionally, spiritually, socially, all of those things. So for me, it's just tricky. Um, I'm sure, God will send me the right woman, but when he does, I'll be thankful.
Okay, now let's get your take on where we are. You spoke on that, where we are in the world, just
Mhm,
where we are in the world today.
mhm.
Of course, being from Florida,
Yeah.
or well, you know what? I shouldn't say being from Florida. Are you from Florida or are
No,
you
I'm from here. I'm from here,
okay?
but I've lived in New York, Rhode Island, Kentucky, a bunch of different places. But
Okay,
I'm
now
back here. Yeah,
being from Chicago,
yeah,
oh man, being from Chicago, coming down, I love Florida. I love,
yeah,
love, love, love Florida because coming down to Florida is like
yeah.
it's so calm.
I know,
Not
right?
only just the weather, I
I
I
know.
talk to you
Yeah,
and I'm like, I'm ready to come back because I got gloves on today.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
But and I'm sure you guys get the news and get what's going on here in Chicago, the
Mhm,
violence.
mhm.
And not just here in Chicago, the violence is kind of going on all over the world. A
Right,
lot of it is social media based.
right,
There's
right,
a lot of things going on over social media that causes a lot
right,
of
for
things that
sure.
happen in the world. And so, what's your take on just excuse me where we are in the world today, and um, your take on if if you Rick Rhodes could make the world a better place, what would
Mhm.
that look like, and what would you do?
Oh my gosh, that's such a broad question.
Tricky question,
It's a
right?
big, well, it's
You
a
got
big,
you got
but
all of
it's
like
a
one
broad
and a half
question,
minutes.
right? Um, so my take on where we are like in the world right now when it comes to the youth, the violence and stuff that happens like all over. Um, Again, it goes to what's being taken in, right? So social media is a a multitude of platforms that people can express themselves in any way. Some good, some bad, some in between. Um, but it influences our youth. Um, and let's speak on Chicago for itself, or just the Midwest period. I mean, because not only Chicago, but you had Indianapolis, you had places like Cincinnati and stuff. Crazy murder rates, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so my thing is it's social media plays a point to it, but environment, home life, um, community. Those are the key factors. Social media just in itself just aids to um, the speed in which people are able to interact, and the speed in which people are able to, you know, just what's the word? Just interact, but the speed in which they're able to get information back and forth, to each other, um, and in the negative way. Um, it takes nothing for somebody to upload a video literally after seeing another video, and then you have your response in 10 to 15 seconds.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so that in itself is um, something that I don't know how it could be, deterred, because everybody has a phone. Everybody's able to log onto the social media, whatever platform it is. Everybody has a voice. Um, but I think just at the core is just, community, just having um, good people, to try to intercede when things like this, when things are, like this is happening. Um, could it be more of a um, how do you say it? Could be more of a way that social media in itself, Meta and all these other places could kind of filter that stuff. Yeah, it could be you know a better way that they could filter it so that you don't have these kids going back and forth, and in some cases ultimately killing each other,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Could there be filters put in place? Absolutely. Will there be filters put in place? No, because unfortunately, press and media, it plays, a double part. I mean, it's good, and the bad is even better, right? Because the more people hear of, hey, these two kids got into it on Instagram, Facebook, whatever it may be, that's more people that's going to come to the platform. That's more users. So, in a grand scheme of things, it turns into money for these people. So, do they have an incentive to, filter the things that may keep some of these kids from getting killed? No. So, in that aspect, that's kind of my take on the social media part. If I could have my ideal world, um, man, that's a tough one. My ideal world, may not be ideal for other people because not everybody, lives, thinks, and pretty much walks in my shoes. Um, Ideally, if I could have something like, you know, it would be changing the economic standard that persists in our country, right? Changing the processes in which um, you have, classism, right? Um, that would be probably some of the major factors in which I would change is economic standards and classism.
Okay. Now, being a global influencer, and
Mhm.
like you've already told us that you're the guy that's up at 2 a.m. looking at updates and
Right.
algorithms and things like that. Do you ever find yourself at a point where you need to come away from social media, whether it's mentally or you just need a break for it, or um, are you kind of immune emotionally and spiritually to what goes on, or do you sometimes? Because I know for me,
Mhm.
I'm because it's business
Mhm.
and because it's the new wave of business, like you said, that phone.
Right.
Majority of the world, we probably grab that phone before, as soon as we wake up, before we go
Right.
do anything
Right.
else.
For sure.
And I know for myself, after so much and so long, I tend to have to come away
Right.
for a little bit.
Right. For sure.
Do you find yourself having that?
Um, so for me, it's like, I take my quiet times when it comes to social media. Um, and as I'm working on other projects and stuff, that's my time away from it, right? But am I on it every day? Am I checking different things every day? Absolutely, because this is involved within my business. I have clients and stuff that I have to keep up with things, so I'm consistently on there. But I have my set time where I'm just I'm done, and I can just put it down and not worry about it. But that's come over time. Um, because for me, like I'm a workhorse, so I like getting work done. I can't be on social media just flipping through yada 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 yada. I have to go on there and look at the analytics, look at the things that I need to look at, and then get off there and proceed to do content or make adjustments. So mine is more of a business aspect. It's not more of leisure and time, um, something to take up my time.
Now you spoke on your clients.
Mm,
So if someone wanted to be a client of Rick
mm,
Rhodes,
yes.
how would someone become a client? What type of clients do you take on? And what does that look like for the Rick Rhodes entity?
Right. So for me, have them email me at global at rickroads, inc.com. Um, and most of the people that I work with, they're of, every type of business, from doctors, from real estate, from one of my newest clients over the last like month or so is tattoo shop. Um, so I work with a multitude of different people, artists, um, private label stuff, different magazines. So, um, you know, the work is the work. You just, for me, I'm understanding of just how to um, do the content to go with these businesses, so it becomes kind of automatic but easy for me.
Okay, and again, that was global.
Global at rickrhodesinc.com.
Okay,
Or they
global
can
at
just,
rickroadsinc.com.
yes, or they can just reach out to me on my social media, which is Rick Rhodes underscore. And then it has my phone number, everything that's on there. And so, yeah, just reach out to me. I'm very personal. I answer my phone calls. So, yeah.
Definitely, definitely, very cool person.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of fun
Yeah,
over the
for sure.
weekend at the Arama.
Yeah.
It was a good,
Yeah.
really good outing, and I really
Yeah.
enjoyed meeting you.
As
And
well.
again, I want to definitely thank you for being a part of the show, a part of my history in the making.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
definitely gave some very, very good key pointers on
Yeah.
social media.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's something that, as you said, there's a lot of content out there,
Mhm.
and there are, tons of reels and stories and things
Mhm.
like that. And it's to the point where if you want a voice, it's just a matter of making an account, right?
Absolutely.
Making an account on a social media
Absolutely.
platform and putting your voice out there.
Yeah.
But according to Mr. Rhodes, it is definitely some key pointers and ways that you do that. I said
Right.
you definitely taught me some things.
Yeah.
I taught me some things because I know my Instagram and YouTube now is dry.
We'll talk
It
about
is
it. We'll talk about
dry.
it. We'll get to it.
It's dry, but that's because I'm more I come from a time of before there was, internet,
Right.
before, the Nokia, the
Yeah,
old
yeah, for sure.
Nokia wood grain phone and
Yeah,
beeper.
for sure.
I had the
You had the
Nokia.
earpiece.
I had the Nokia and the
Yeah,
wood
for sure.
grain beeper.
Absolutely.
We had stoves and refrigerators and beds and things like that, and televisions, before there was social media. So there's
Yeah.
that piece of me that
Yeah.
knows
Yeah.
that marketing and
Mhm.
$1 million business can
Right.
happen, not necessarily always through
Right.
social media, but I'm actually still learning. I'm kind of more I think my brain and my mind was more on focusing on getting the logistics of the business legit, because I've ran into a lot of those who, we have social media, we have all this going on, but we don't know what an EIN is. We don't know, what your DUNS is and things like that. And so I have been more focused on making sure the IRS don't come for me,
Hold on.
I think we
So you can hear
lost
me?
you.
Okay. So you can still hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. So no, I totally understand. Um, but this is what I kind of impart to people. You have to understand how to keep the your foot on the pedal, right? So understanding, like, the functionality of business, understanding, and having your mechanics like in place is always necessary. But you also have to understand having your mechanics in place always has to transition also to um, you having your press and media, which is your social media, your digital footprint. And so you have to, not you in this case, but people have to understand you have to make those things work together. Um, I had this business coach that I was dealing with, Chad Wolf, own a bunch of different companies and stuff, multimillionaire. Um, but he told me, he said, listen, he's like, Rick, I'm not going to take your money or anything like that. He's like, you don't need any of that. He's like, you don't need any coaching. He said, and I'm imparting something that he told me. He said, what you have to learn how to do is keep the functionality of of your company, keeping it in good standings, like you said, having the EIN, DUNS number, having your minority certification, being, set up properly, right? But he said the other thing that you have to do is understand how to still keep your foot on the pedal in order to generate money. So all those things make sense, right? And so that's what I try to impart to people. Like whenever I do small conferences or business advocacy and stuff like that, or small business roundtables, I always tell people like you have to work those things hand in hand, because you can have all these things in place, but if you're not promoting, if you're not doing your own press and media, and I say press and media when it comes to you increasing your digital footprint across platforms, social media platforms, then what do you have, right? Um, people's they blow up overnight because they develop a clear, concise, and impactful digital media plan, which then transitions into income into that business. So that's why I try to impart to people, like, work it together, right? Keep the foot on the pedal, and just make sure all your things are in place. And sometimes you just got to keep your foot on the pedal and figure some things out, like along the way.
Definitely goes hand in hand. Oh man. And I tell a lot of people, and I have to be honest with a lot of people, if you are not ready for this entrepreneurship world, you better come correct, or don't come at all.
Sure.
Because honey, I mean, it's a much, like you said, keeping both of those aspects right, kind of hand in hand at the same time. Being able to be up all night if you need to, having that balance to know when to come back. And it's a lot. And there are those times that you make absolutely no money. And there are those times you make a lot of money, and you have to know how to balance it. You have to have that strength to be able to balance it. Oh Lord, I know. Especially being a parent as well. It's a lot that you have to balance. And so it is definitely a world that you have to kind of learn and understand it, and then understand if that's something that you want to cross over into.
Right.
So again, is there anything else that you would like to add before we go ahead and close out the show?
Well, I'm gonna just add a little bit onto what you're saying. So as an entrepreneur, I think one of the biggest questions that you have to ask yourself, do you want to go and work for someone else and build their dream, or do you want to work for yourself and build your own?
Yeah.
Right? And so that's one of the major factors that you have to always keep in mind. Am I going to wake up every day and build somebody else's dream, or am I going to wake up and build my own, where you can pass that on to your family and create that generational wealth?
That was my thing. It was like, everyone, I'm working certain, I haven't worked an actual 9-to-5 job since my 20s. It's been a long time since I worked a 9-to-5 job, because it was just like, okay, am I the smartest person in here? And then, my mom always taught me, when you get too smart or too grown for the house, you leave. And do your own thing. And so I branched out. I stopped working 9-to-5s well into my early 20s. And I can say I've been blessed to be over 20 years into entrepreneurship. And, we can actually use that word global now. And so it's a great thing.
Yeah.
And so Rick, we definitely talked about us continuing on the relationship and doing some things. Rick is going to come back at some point, because this was a quick next week. You want to be on the show? I'm be on the show. Let's do it. Right.
I'm actually at one of my clients. I'm actually sitting in one of the sitting in the restaurant and stuff. So I'm just here at one of my clients and stuff now. So it was quick, but we put it together. We got it done.
So I will talk soon, and thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you tune in every Friday. It's your girl Queenie Green. This is Real Talk, and I will be ending the show with, of course, he just told you why I end the show with Yaba. Baby, this is Kojo Fame with one of our latest tracks, Yaba, which is also the name of the clothing line that will be coming to America very, very soon. So Rick, thank you, babe, for coming in. We'll talk to you very soon. See you soon.
Yes.
And enjoy. Talk to you soon.
You as well. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Catch the rhythm with WVOG Worldwide Radio, our 24/7 streaming service. With over 11 genres to choose from, there's a beat for every mood. Got your own tune? Share your music with the world right here. Download the app, share the vibe. Your talent, our platform. For more, visit wvogshi.com. WVOG Worldwide Radio, sharing one beat at a time. Download the app today and feel the beat.
Oh, come home. Oh, dimenim. Oh, dimentensi. Oh, me oban. Oh, say, oh, do me pants. Oh, say, me di. Abwa bebeka, oh, so free, want to memoir. Oh, me circle for me, another circle. In my circle, no squares, please. Yaba, oh. Yaba, oh. Yaba, oh. From me, sound so mente. I saw the one body on your metamphos, yes, right. Me come in Kuana Wapa, me call me Fana Wapa, but trouble to the Mempe. Papa call me Boo Bear Basako, Moasem. Yan to Abasako, and Sasso, me come in, yeah. Papa call me Boo Bear Basako, Moasem. Untuna Sube to me, and Yawasem. Coming through, coming sis, come we not be coming guns. Fully jack up, you know the year. Coming gang, you know the year. So I can't afford it and say, ya toy into your heart. Find for me again, so yeah, hey. What's your say, my baby, Chimunti, my posse? Yaba, oh. Yaba, oh. Yaba, oh. Yaba, oh. Papa call me Boo Bear Basako, Moasem. Yantu Abasako, Nensa, so that me come in. Papa call me Boo Bear Basako, Moasem.